How to combat inflation. 6 essential tips to protect your money must know. 1. Track your spending. 2. Dump your debt. 3. Build an emergency fund. 4. Increase your retirement funds. 5. Diversify your investments. 6. Spend wisely. The United States is currently experiencing a period of rising inflation. When prices increase, so do the costs of living. But we can keep inflation under control and make sure that our money lasts longer by preparing for it. Even though it can be scary to think about, an increase in the cost of living is a great opportunity to save money and build wealth. We'll explore how to save money and build wealth by preparing for inflation. Track your spending. We all know that if you track your expenses, you'll save more money. But when was the last time you actually did this? If you don't have a written budget and track your expenses, you might not realize how much you're spending. But if you know how much you're spending, you can set realistic goals for your budget. You could also use an online budgeting app to help you stay organized. We spent hours to put this video together for you. Don't be shy to like us. Dump your debt. Depending on your debt repayment schedule, now is a great time to dump any existing debt. If you have an interest-bearing debt, you're probably paying a ton of interest. Now is a good time to pay off the debt so you have less interest to pay down the line. If you're in the middle of repaying your debt, stay the course and make sure you stick to your repayment schedule. Don't make any extra payments, and don't take any extra breaks. Build an emergency fund. You never know when a major expense will pop up or when an emergency will arise. Whether it's a car repair, a medical bill, or a utility bill that spikes unexpectedly, you need an emergency fund to handle it. The amount you need will vary based on your specific situation, but a good rule of thumb is to have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. If you don't already have an emergency fund, now is the perfect time to build one. You can have an emergency fund at a high-interest online savings account or in a traditional savings account. If you have a simple way to save regularly by using on an auto deposit, that's even better. You can also consider moving some of your savings from your low-yield savings account to a higher-yield account. Look for ways to avoid banks charging fees to transfer your money. Increase your retirement funds. Now is a great time to increase your retirement contributions. If you're behind on your retirement contributions, now is the time to catch up. That said, don't increase your contributions too much too fast. You don't want to risk pushing yourself into a higher tax bracket. Instead, increase your contributions slightly each month until you get back on track. Once you're in the groove, you can increase your contributions more. Diversify your investments. If you're like most people, you keep your money in one big pile. You might as well put all your savings in a financial firebomb because that's exactly what it is. But if you diversify your investments among different types of investments, you decrease your risk. That way, even if one type of investment tanks, you don't go down in flames. You have a few options when it comes to investments. You can choose mutual funds, stocks, bonds, or real estate. Make sure that you diversify across the different types of investments so that you don't have too much exposure to one type of investment. Spend wisely. The most important thing when it comes to preparing for inflation is to keep your expenses low. Remember that the higher inflation is, the higher your expenses will be. The only way to keep your expenses low is to keep your overhead as low as possible. That means no fancy cars, expensive vacations, or other unnecessary expenses. Another important thing to remember is to save money. Saving money puts money in your pocket that you can use to pay off your debt or put towards your savings account. It's important to have a dedicated savings account because that's where you'll keep your money safe from hackers, thieves, and other bad actors. Bottom line, there's no need to be overcome with fear and panic when it comes to preparing for inflation. Simply track your spending, dump your debt, build an emergency fund, increase your retirement contributions, diversify your investments, and keep your expenses as low as possible. These are all steps that you can take to prepare for rising prices. Give us a like to show that you are committed to these steps, starting today.